Hello everyone. I thought I would do a get ready with me and a story time video. So unfortunately this video is titled Get Ready With Me as I talk about my miscarriage. This is something that has happened in my life very recently, and my hopes for this video is that it is helping someone who also is either going through a miscarriage or in the waiting part of while you're waiting to have your miscarriage confirmed, because it's not just confirmed through one appointment. So yeah, let's get into this video. Me and my husband basically found out that I was pregnant, which we were really happy about. We weren't actively trying to fall pregnant, but when we got married, we agreed that we didn't really agree with contraception. It was more of a personal conviction, but that's kind of what we agreed when we got married, that we would leave things to the Lord as the Lord gives conception, and if the Lord decides that he wants us to conceive, we will conceive. If not, that's absolutely fine as well. We have always been the type of people that wanted a family, which is one of the things that I actually liked about him, is his view on family, and obviously the fact that he wanted family as well. We both aligned on that. And we knew we wanted a family as soon as the Lord would bless us with a family. So yeah, after we found out that we were pregnant, we basically messaged the hospital that we decided that we would like our baby to be born in, and let them know that we were pregnant. And then from then, they gave us our first 3 appointments, which the first appointment was on the 3rd of February, which is basically like a booking appointment. I don't really know, obviously, what happens in a booking appointment because I didn't get that far in my journey. But our first appointment was a booking appointment, and then my 3rd appointment was blood tests, which was on the 19th of February, and then our first scan was going to be on the 5th of March, which I was very nervous for that appointment, because obviously that's the appointment where they basically confirm the pregnancy, confirm if there's a heartbeat, and all that scary stuff. Around that time, my best friend also was pregnant, and she unfortunately lost her baby, which caused me to have major anxiety. I'm a very highly anxious person, annoyingly. It gave me really bad anxiety, so I decided, just to put my mind at ease, I would go and book a private scan, an early reassurance scan, and then hopefully that put my mind at ease. So when going to this scan, I have done a lot of research on private clinics. Not all private clinics are the same, by the way. But this private clinic that I went to does only external ultrasounds, which most people know. An external ultrasound for early pregnancy is a little bit less reliable. It's not 100% not reliable, but it is a little bit less reliable, especially if you are a little bit later than what you kind of guessed you was. So it comes to the day of the early reassurance scan, and I wasn't going in with really high expectations, because like I said, I am the type of person to research everything so intensely. I knew what we were kind of looking for in a 6-week scan. So for your first reassurance scan, they like you to be earliest 6 weeks. I wouldn't suggest going if you are 6 weeks. I would suggest, if you do want an early reassurance scan, to go when you're around 8 to 9 weeks, because there'll just be a little bit more to see, obviously, in hopes that it is a healthy pregnancy. I would have been 6 weeks and 5 days, which I strategically booked my early reassurance scan for that time, because I didn't want to go in and then them be like, oh, we can't really see much, so can you go away and come back? Anyway, comes to the day of the reassurance scan. We go in, my bladder's full, which, can I just say, is the worst thing about getting scans, is you have to have a full bladder. Can someone please tell me if you actually do have to have a full bladder, because that was actually torture. Like, I actually can't think of anything worse. Being pregnant, going into a scan with a full bladder. But yeah, so my bladder is trash anyway. So I was just a bit like, this is actually torture and I hate this so much. But anyway, I digress. I went in and sat down on the table. They put the jelly on my belly, started looking around. They said we're going to be a little bit quiet in the beginning, but like literally no need to panic. It's just as we're kind of just trying to figure out what we're looking at. So yeah, I went into the scan with not high expectations. Went into that scan basically just wanting to see that everything's growing where it needs to be. I also wanted to see how many babies were there, because my husband, Tom, is a twin. So there is a chance that I will have twins, which, to be honest, I prayed for twins before I even met my husband, Tom, when I was praying for my future children. So I wanted twins anyway. I wasn't expecting to see a heartbeat because obviously, like I said, I know that if I go into the scan and I am a little bit further along than I thought I was, which can happen, that at least the one thing I can walk away with is knowing that my baby is growing exactly where it needs to be. And that was good enough for me, to be honest. So we went into the scan. I looked at the screen, all I could see was a sac, but no baby, which was also worrying because I looked up, I can't pronounce it properly, but basically the type of pregnancy where there's a gestational sac but there's no baby there. Blight ovum, I think it's called. I also knew that was a thing. So when I saw the gestational sac but no baby, I was like, great, that's it. I've got a blight ovum pregnancy. This is the end of my journey. But they said we can see something, but it's really, really small. So they were basically saying, we think you are a little bit earlier than you think you are. So we want you to go away. You can come back free of charge, because obviously private scans you do pay for. They're not free like you get on the NHS. So they were like, you can come back free of charge basically, and we'll rescan you. And by then you probably will find we'll see something a little bit more. They didn't promise me that we would see something when we came back, but they basically were saying, we do think you are a little bit earlier than you think you are. So come back in a week and a half, we'll rescan you and we'll start again. So I left thinking, something doesn't feel right about this, but I'm also not an expert, so I'm just going to take their word for it and come back in a week and a half, still continue to do what I'm doing. During that time, I was like to my husband, we need to be praying, because I'm not going to lie to you, from my research and my knowledge, it's not looking like very, very good. So we go back in a week and a half, and I am a bag of nerves, because obviously being at home, my mind was going absolutely crazy. I did so much research during that time, which basically confirmed what I was feeling anyway, that something wasn't right. So when we went in, I just was like, I don't even want to look at the screen, because I basically knew what was coming. Sorry, I had to move. So we go back for our scan, and I'm not even joking, we were in there for about 3 minutes in the scan, and she took one look at the scan and literally went, I'm so sorry, but it looks like the baby has stopped growing and you are basically having a miscarriage, which I kind of expected in in general, because like I said, I've done so much research, like I kind of know what I'm looking at, and it had changed slightly, the scan, but it was still quite small for how they were basically saying how far along I was. It just was not looking good whatsoever. We got that news, and that was on the 2nd of February. We got told by the private scan that we were having a miscarriage. They said it looked like a miscarriage, because they basically asked me, are you having any bleeding? Which I said no. Are you having any cramping? I said no. They said, do you still have any symptoms, like pregnancy symptoms? Which obviously I said yes, because I was still having pregnancy symptoms, which was also a little bit confusing, because I did search up a miscarriage anyway, and obviously I know with a miscarriage you will still have all your symptoms of being pregnant, just the babies stop growing and your body basically hasn't recognised that the babies have passed. But yes, so they basically said, you're having a miscarriage. Next thing to do now is to call the early pregnancy unit. It's a Sunday, so they're not running today, but so tomorrow on Monday, call the early pregnancy unit, tell them what we have found, and then they will basically book you in as soon as they can. So basically after that, I went back to my mum and dad's house, told them what was happening, and my dad actually suggested, he said, you have your appointment tomorrow, why don't you just go into your appointment, tell them what's happened, and then hopefully you'll be able to get seen a lot quicker since you're there already. So we were like, okay, let's do that. So we go into our appointment on the 3rd of February, which would have been our first booking appointment. And I basically said to the lady, we went to a private scan yesterday, and they basically said that the pregnancy has stopped and I am having a miscarriage, but I was literally just like, I don't really know where to go from here. Like, it's all just a bit like, I don't really know what's happening. I think I was still in kind of like getting my head around what they had told us. So I was just like, I don't really know what to do. Please help me. And the woman basically was like, okay, well, give me 1 minute. I'm going to go speak to the early pregnancy unit, and then I'll let you know kind of like what they say. So she goes, speaks to early pregnancy, and they said that at the moment they're just working through triage. And she said, go away and they'll give you a call today or tomorrow, and hopefully they'll be able to see you today and give you an ultrasound, but if not, they'll see when they can book you in. So we went to McDonald's. The early pregnancy lady called me back literally like an hour after we left, which was such a blessing in itself. She was so lovely. She was like, I'm so sorry for the news you've been given, but now we need to basically start again. So would you be able to come in today so you can have an internal ultrasound, and we'll basically see what's happening there. So we agreed. We said, yes, we'll come in today. So we went back in for my internal ultrasound, and they did an internal ultrasound. The ultrasound lady, once again, was so lovely, so welcoming. Like, she was just so gentle. And she basically said, so what we've got to do now is basically start again, because we're not going to take what the private clinic is saying, because we don't really agree with private clinics, because they get things wrong so many times, and we wouldn't want to go ahead and push you for like the next steps after a miscarriage if we haven't confirmed ourselves that it's a miscarriage. So a miscarriage usually has to be confirmed 3 times before you go ahead and do the next steps of what happens after a miscarriage. So what she basically said is, from what I can see, you're basically measuring to be around 9 weeks pregnant. And she said, and I can see 2 yolk sacs. And she said, but what I want to do is for you to go away, come back in a week's time, and see if there's any progress. Even the tiniest bit of progress is like amazing. But it was nice that she kind of reassured me that there is still hope, but it's looking like it is probably a miscarriage, but before we say 100% yes, it is a miscarriage, we kind of just want to make sure we've got all our facts in check, basically. We go away. This time was a very difficult time for me and Tom. I would say it definitely was a testing time for our marriage, for sure. Tom was absolutely amazing during this time. He was so, like, such a prayer warrior. I was the opposite. I was going through the kind of like, why is this happening to me? Like, why? The 2 yolk sacs, can we just say, is a sign of a twin pregnancy, which I think made dealing with this a whole lot harder because I had physically prayed for twins. So that was really difficult. Yeah, I kind of was just like clinging to the Lord during that time to at least just give me strength to get through what I was going through. And he gave me my strength in Tom and in my friends and in my family and in my church family. So that I am like 100% like fully grateful for for my family, for my friends, for my church, for like God during that time, because where I didn't have the strength, he gave others strength that poured into me. And yeah, so everyone was praying for the pregnancy, praying for the babies, praying for me, praying for Tom, praying for our family during this time, which was really, really nice. But yeah, so we went back a week later for our appointment, and to confirm a miscarriage, you have to have 3 people. I don't know if this is like a legal thing, but it definitely was for our hospital. You had to have 3 people confirm it. So we had an ultrasound technician in the room, and we also had a doctor in the room as well. And they were looking at it. They said, your hematoma has disappeared, which was an answer to prayer, because I prayed for the Lord to heal my hematoma, because the hematoma was scaring me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so I prayed for the Lord to heal my hematoma, which he answered that prayer, and he did so. And yeah, 2 of the ladies confirmed the babies have stopped growing. They probably did stop growing about 2 weeks before this appointment. And they said we can confirm that it's twins and that it is definitely a miscarriage. Which obviously didn't come as a massive shock because we kind of knew what was going on in a way. But obviously it was still heartbreaking and sad that obviously the Lord didn't answer our prayers in that moment and give our babies life again. We went into the quiet room, they call it, with one of the midwives. She spoke over all our options of how to kind of deal with the miscarriage. I decided to go with the D&C because it sounded the kind of less traumatic way for me to deal with it. And can I just say, the first trimester for me was really, really difficult, especially with the symptoms I was having with my first trimester, that I was just like, I actually cannot continue to go through this knowing that I'm not going to have my babies in the end. So we decided to go with the D&C surgery because it was kind of the more easier route for us. And we were booked in the next day to go for a D&C surgery. So yeah, we were booked in for our D&C surgery the next day. And that was going to basically finalise everything. I would say I feel like I am almost back to my normal self. I like days I hit and miss. I have days where I'm really, really good, like everything's amazing. Not amazing, but you know, I'm a little bit more positive. And then I have days where I'm like, this is the worst thing I have ever experienced and I don't know if I can do this ever again. I definitely had thoughts after my surgery of, I don't know if I can go through this again. I don't know if I can go through pregnancy and then it lead to a miscarriage again, potentially. I was like, I don't even know if I want children anymore. And if you know me, one of my like heart's desires, God-given desires, is to be a mum. So for me to say that was absolutely wild. But where I am now is I'm in the mindset of I'm ready to fall pregnant again. Whether my body's ready to fall pregnant again, who knows. Yeah, that's my miscarriage story. I am currently 2 weeks post DNC surgery. Apologies for the lighting in this video. Trying to film this in natural daylight because I prefer to film videos in natural daylight, but the way my house faces, like the later on it gets in during the day, it like changes, and it's really irritating, but I will figure out the lighting. That is my miscarriage story. If you have any questions about a miscarriage, or like your options after a miscarriage and kind of like the details, what happens for a DNC, like healing after a DNC, let me know, and I will be more than happy to make those videos, especially if it's going to help you even make your decision on what to do after miscarriage. If you have any questions about like my faith after miscarriage as well, I'm happy to document that journey too, if that's going to help you. Basically anything that's going to help others. That's the whole point of me making this video, is to share my story, raise awareness about miscarriages and early pregnancy loss, in hopes that it will help others. I hope this video's helped. That's probably a better thing to say. I hope this video's helped, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and also please join me on my journey of hopefully falling pregnant again this year. So I will see you in the next video, God willing. Goodbye.